date? Is it coming up?
I'm so glad Wildflower is back.
Yeah.
Yay.
The crew and endurance has to be going.
All right, we shut down the podcast and we brought it back because I had read something about how you were doing some race announcing and that this was during a time that you were really starting to cultivate this new love for the sport. And Mike Riley sat exactly where you sat. He was our 100th podcast guest.
Wow.
And let me tell you, that podcast just blew me away. That man is so, you want to talk about authenticity. I mean, he just holds what he does in reverence. And when I read that about you with the announcing, it reminded me of Mike and how he just gets so fulfilled and has so much love for the sport through his role as being an announcer. And so how does that role play in with your love for the sport? How did it bring that love back?
Well, I think I'd only come at the sport from the elite level. And I really was pretty self-absorbed in that level and didn't really take time to look around as much. You know, it's always about you're here as a professional, you're trying to earn a paycheck, you're trying to keep your sponsors happy, how your race performance is a big part of that. And when the race is over, you're sort of thinking, you know, quickly, can I make my flight? And, you know, logistics. Race announcing, you're there from the very first person to the very last person. And you have time. When everyone leaves on the bike, there's usually a lot of, especially a Wildflower on the long course, there's a lot of time in between. And I started noticing that it was about the families who are hanging out all day and looking at these kids and their homemade signs and starting to realize that this isn't just about the athlete. This is about the entire family. And knowing what I put into, the time I put into a race, then sort of thinking about, here's this mother, this father, taking time away from their lives to train, something that they feel really good about, setting this goal, and then getting the support of their family, you know, extended families could be out there, and just starting to have this appreciation for this lifestyle. And it isn't an easy choice, but it's so rewarding. I mean,
It gave you like a new perspective.
Absolutely. I started really falling in love with the idea that someone was going to accomplish something they never thought possible. And it was on the finish line, and I would hopefully get to call their name. I mean, when you get a busy finish line, you're just calling people really quick, but the slower they go, the more attention they got, and especially with their families. And I'd look down and I'd read the sign, and you know, kids would look up, or if I had a wireless mic, I'd go down and interview the kid, and seeing this child light up, like the attention he's sort of getting on this day, which is supposed to be about dad, but here he is getting to kind of be the rock star for the moment. And then remembering, you know, it was John and Cindy waiting for their dad, and here comes dad, John and Cindy, and hopefully being able to pull them together and give them, the whole family, an experience that is as profound as it is for the athlete. And so that was the switch. And I think coming into it as a wife and a mother, knowing that it isn't just about the athlete, because when I was racing as a pro, it was just about it's not just about the athlete. It's about the entire family and the role model that this athlete is providing for others around him.
Much bigger than the finish time.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Mike Riley he's the voice of Ironman. He has just made people's dreams come true, and you'll have to definitely have him back when his book comes out.
Oh yeah,
Finding My Voice, I think is the working title, and it's going to be stories from his perspective from the finish line. And I see that book having, you know, coming out every couple of years because the stories keep changing, right. And he's still watching those finishes.
And his experience with the athletes goes way beyond the clock. You know,
Yes.
He's contacting athletes who are in the hospital or have gotten sick or couldn't make the race
or forgot their names.
Yeah, or you didn't get to
call my name.
Yeah, that burns a hole in you as an announcer. But what I adapted, and I see myself as now I'm the host. And I'm inviting all these people into my home. And so there's no question that I don't want to try and get the answer to. It's the awareness that the porta potties are out of toilet paper. Well, that's important. Seriously. So, I mean, if it were my home and my guest came up and said, "Oh, you're out of toilet paper," that's important. So it's like, you know, where's the food? What are we offering for the kids? Where's the kids zone? What are the hours? it becomes now, this is my house and everyone's going to have a good time.
I love that.
Yeah. And they're also going to be hopefully moved and profoundly touched by somebody else's experience or their own.
Has Mike given you any tips?
I've listened to him so many times, and
What have you taken away from him?
Well, what I've taken away is he has a male perspective. And how he announces. And yes, but I think I have a female perspective. And I think those two are they work really well together. I usually am the only woman on my team of announcers. At least I was when I did the Tri-California events. Now we're just down to Wildflower. And other events that I do around the country, I'm the only woman. So I try and focus on what do I bring that's unique. So the tip that I get from Mikey is how hard he works before the race, the research that he does. And I do most of my work comes weeks before you ever show up to announce a race. You try and find out who are your loyal customers, who have been racing with you. And the easy way to find that out is if they've been on the awards podium. You can go back and look at the results over several years, and kind of really acknowledge that they have been racing hard and well for a long time. And then you start to recognize names. If you do that research and you start looking down your athlete board, names will just pop up. And then what I do is say, to my team, if you have anybody who's wants something shouted out, just write it down and we'll work it in. And so it becomes this, once people realize, I can hand the announcer like something written and they'll probably say it, then we're in business. Then it starts to rock and roll.
All right, you guys, whoever is out there doing Wildflower, let Julie know what you want her to yell at you.
And go to the Facebook page for sure, because there's share your stories. And sometimes those stories then become our lead stories for the entire race. So yeah, toot your own horn. Works.
Heck yeah, it does. Self-love.
Absolutely.